Front page of the Times. Failed asylum seekers will be offered $3,000 to encourage them to move to Rwanda.
Yes, unable to actually forcibly deport anyone to Rwanda. They're now taking the option of asking people voluntarily to move there. This is a separate scheme from the illegal migration scheme, which is currently going through Parliament. Instead, we have lots of people in this country who have failed their asylum processing. They've already gone through the system, but they're in limbo in this country. And usually what the Home Office does is try and rehome them to their original country. Sometimes they can't go. So what often happens is they're on sort of state support, but they don't have any rights under the law, really. They can't have a right to work. They don't have many rights to buy a house. So what this new option is to use the infrastructure already in place for the illegal migration scheme and offer them the choice, instead of going back to their home country to set up a new life in Rwanda. British taxpayers paying about £3,000 for them to rebuild their lives there. It's a talker. Whether or not people will actually be wanting to go
Jack,
might be an issue.
In a really calm way, because I wasn't calm. Two questions. Why can't they go? Processing systems rubbish. Concentrate on that. In fact, three. Make more returns agreements with more countries for this 170,000. But here's the thing that I don't get. You're basically saying to a whole bunch of people, come to England. Because if you don't get your processing answer, if you fail, we'll give you $3,000 of taxpayers' money for you to go somewhere else. It's a joke, man. Come on.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a lot of people would say that it will be a deterrent. That's the government's
How is
position.
$3,000 a deterrent, Jack Elsom?
Well, because if you can't stay in this country, and that's...
No, I'm talking about coming from another country. This is encourage more people to come.
Yeah, well, they're coming over from France, aren't they?
Well, no, I mean, about 3% of them are. So
this is indefensible.
No, but there's a rather large conflation between small boat crossings and the migration figures. We've got a very high migration. Most of that is legal migration.
These
They're
people
coming
should
through
go back to their countries if they fail migration.
There's about 3% of that number are coming over in small boats. And this scheme, what's happened is the Home Office have essentially built a lot of hostels in Kigali, and they're sort of like hotels, these huge complexes, and they're completely empty. And they would like to fill them because it's quite nice PR to say, look, we have rehoused people.
Do you not agree with me, though, that this would
time.
encourage more people to come here and fail their asylum test and get $3,000?
If you are following the argument that Rwanda is a deterrent, then yes, this is obviously going to be counter to that. But look, I mean, the entire scheme is a sham, and it's so expensive to deport people to Rwanda in the first place. I think that's where we should start our anger, you know, if you're opposed to it in the first place, rather than...
Totally opposed to it, but then I don't understand why we don't have a system that will not allow these people to be sent home.
What Ava said hits the nail on the head. The government is saying that Rwanda is this great deterrent, and yet here it is, there's £3,000 to encourage them to move to Rwanda. You can't make both of those arguments.
I think it's the most ridiculous system, and I've said every day I've sat here for 6 months, or however long it is, I don't understand why we do not have a processing system that will send the relevant people home and keep the relevant people here. That's the big problem in this country.
I actually would agree with that. There's a really big question about why we don't have a processing centre in Calais. So why do people have to risk the Channel crossing before they actually get an answer? Because, you know, if you're in a lot of these countries, if you're in Afghanistan, if you're in Iraq, Iran, you can't actually apply for safe passage. You have to be in the UK before you can claim asylum.
It's an absolute
mess, isn't it? It's not
good
for the country, and it's not good for the person either.
They've created this problem themselves.
I don't want to take the opposite view, because I agree with both of you. I still don't believe that anybody's got a plan. I don't believe the Labour Party have a plan. I think it's one of the biggest stains on our democracy.
I think that's true. And what I don't understand as well, I mean, I've had several conversations with the Home Office about, you know, they do like to promote this idea that Rwanda is very safe and that, you know, they'll be very welcome there if people are deported there. I've repeatedly asked, can I go and look at the hostels? Can I go and look at the hotels? Can you show me around where people will be living? And that request is always denied. And I just find that, look, it's just quite suspicious, isn't it? Because if it is fantastic, as you say it is, let me see it.
It's really interesting, because I get all of that, but I come from a different point of view. I don't care whether it's fantastic or not. I think it says nothing about our country, Jack, that we cannot either have returns agreements, we cannot either have that or a processing system or a plan. And I cannot believe that politicians are still, I said it 20 minutes ago, flogging this dead horse.
I think the problem is that where the government has struck returns agreements, somewhere like Albania, for example, small boat crossings in that country have dropped off a cliff by about 90%. The issue is that you look at other countries where the predominant small boats are coming from, Iran, Syria, Afghanistan, relations with these countries have completely collapsed. So it's going to be very difficult, for example, for James Cleverly, the Home Secretary, to tell the Ayatollah of Iran, can we have a returns agreement with this country? Because it's just never going to happen.
Ben says, we've already wasted 500 million quid on this ridiculously stupid scheme. Surely it's time the government stops this nonsense. And the truth is, Ben, they're, 6 months out from an election, they can't, because they've staked everything on something that everybody, whatever side of the political spectrum, thinks is flawed.
Yeah, absolutely.